All right. Okay. Hello, Molly.
Hi,
Welcome.
thanks.
Good to have you.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, I have Molly of the Technical Magic Podcast. That's how I know you. I stumbled across it on iTunes. And then somehow I stumbled across you on YouTube and I discovered that you had a business oracle deck called The Wild Hearts Rise. Can you see it? Oh, it doesn't want to show. Oh, there
uh,
it is. There.
there it is.
The Wild Hearts Rise Up Business Oracle deck. And you had kind of like a Kickstarter campaign for it, and I ordered it. And I'll
Thank
tell
you.
you the first impression, super high quality.
Thank you.
The quality of this deck is amazing. Because I'll show everybody, it comes in this box. This box, I could practically stand on this box. I'm serious. And then you have the really nice book. And then the cards themselves are this is a quality deck. I'm just talking from a purely physical standpoint without even talking about the artwork or the concept or anything. So I just wanted to give you kudos for that because there's a lot of self-published decks that they're not that great. They're not that great quality, and that affects it when you get it. I was so excited when I got it. I was just
Totally.
blown away. So, what happened? How did you decide you wanted to? Did you just wake up one day and go, "I'm making an oracle deck"? Or what happened?
Well, I've been a mystical, magical person for as long as I can remember. And, devices like tarot decks and oracle decks and angel cards and all that kind of stuff has always just been, a really great addition to my world and my magic, and a great way that I've found insights over the years, whether it's actually sitting down with someone and having a reading or just pulling a card a day from some deck that I love. So, as a creator and a maker of things and a writer, I've always sort of wanted to create something like this for myself. But it was a couple years ago that I was digging into using some tarot archetypes for a quiz that I created for my business. It's actually the biggest way that I grow my list is through this quiz that I have on Facebook, and people take it, and it tells you what level of thought leader you are. But as I was doing the research, because I wanted to use tarot archetypes for this deck, I started to realize that the tarot, especially the major arcana of the tarot, is related to the tree of life and the Kabbalah. And the tree of life is about bringing an idea or an insight down into the physical world, into physical manifestation. And this, like, fascinated me, and I started to see all these places where that little framework laid into everything. If you're writing a book, it's those stages that you move through to bring a book to life. If you're creating a piece of art, it's those stages that you move through. If you're having a child, it's those same stages that you move through. If you're building a business, it's those same stages that you move through. So I got really deep into just nerding out on these 5 cards that I chose for the quiz. And then I started to realize it would be really fun to pick apart the energy of each of those cards and make those the suits of my deck. So over the course of 2 years, I sort of first made this framework, the skeleton of the deck, which is what are the 6 suits? And they're the Fool, the Magician, the High Priestess, the Empress, the Hierophant, and the Wheel of Fortune, because I think it's important when we're manifesting to also talk about how our relationship to money and abundance actually works. And inside of those 6 suits, I came up with 10 aspects of each suit. So I sort of had the skeleton, and tapping into the energy of what each of those aspects in relation to each of the suits would be. So I came up with the words for those things. And then I went to art school. So I have a background in making art. I've been drawing and playing with ceramics since I was a little kid. But I was looking for another artist, or for 6 other artists to collaborate with me to create the deck. And I was approaching people and old friends from college who are amazing artists, and nothing was really working out. And finally I was just like, okay, Molly, you can do it. Like, you're an artist, just make the thing yourself. And it's not what I would have had someone else make. I mean, there are much better artists out there in the world, but there's something really beautiful about having done it myself. And it took me a long time to finish, but I'm really happy with how it turned out.
Right. Yeah, I am too. It took like 2 years, right?
It took me 2 years to complete it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as far as the quality of the deck, I didn't want to put something out that was just a play deck. I wanted to put out something that felt real and that felt quality, like you said. So that's why I did the Indiegogo campaign to fund the first printing, rather than investing a whole bunch of money and not knowing if anybody was ever going to buy it. The safer route was to fund that first full printing by getting people excited about it and asking my community to show up and participate in the creation of it.
Okay, yeah, because that was one of my questions. Like, can people still buy the deck
Oh
or?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Wildheartsriseup.com/oracle is where you get it.
okay, okay, perfect. Well, I
Yeah.
love that you took an aspect of the tarot and then just kind of made it your own and expanded it. I think that's just totally awesome.
Yeah,
Love
there's
it,
so
love it.
much depth to the tarot. I feel like
There
it's
is.
easy to play
There
with.
is. Yeah. Because I've
Yeah.
thought about that. Like when you make an oracle deck, it's like it really can't be just random. You know what I mean? It can't be just a bunch of random stuff that you put in a deck, and
Yeah.
it has to
It
have some
can,
kind of
it's just going to be
system to
less
it.
interesting. Yeah. Once you put a system, it's also easier to make something when there's a container that you're working within, I think. It's like if
Right.
you just try to write a book start to finish without having any idea of an outline or a story arc, it's just more complicated to get through
Right.
it because you're just shooting in the dark. Whereas if you build that framework first or that container, it's easier to fill it out, I think.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
So I just have like a lot of like technical questions.
Go
Like
for it.
how big were the drawings? Were they're like huge or like?
They were 3 to an 8.5 by 11 page. I'm trying to think if I have them nearby. Let's see. I actually can show you if you guys are watching on YouTube. Let me pull one out for you. I fit 3 on a page, so they are slightly bigger than. Whoop, let's watch out for the paper clip. These are the OGs, original drawings. So I
Oh
fit 3 on
wow.
a page,
Oh yeah.
and they're a little bit more vivid in
Yeah.
real. They're all colored pencil. They were ink drawings and then colored in with colored pencil. Um, but yeah, not that large, which made it a little bit easier. But that's sort of what was so fun about getting the actual deck in my hands finally, was I had been playing with all these pieces of paper, like 20 pieces of paper that all the art was on. So to
Yeah.
finally be able to like hold them and flip
Right.
through them like a real deck was so satisfying.
Yeah.
It's
I
really
bet.
fun.
I bet. Yeah. Um, okay. So then when you got to the like the printing part, how did you navigate all that? Because that seems a little overwhelming to me.
It is. There's a lot of phases to that. I think I have a friend who actually has done a little mini course maybe about the process. I might put out a blog post about the whole process. But first off, you want to find a company you're going to print through. And I started with a company that was in the US because I needed a test print right away. I had the target of finishing the deck before going to Burning Man. And so I could have a deck to play with there and just sort of test it out with people for the first time. And so I needed it rush ordered, created, and shipped to me as soon as possible. So I went with a company that was in Utah. I'm not going to say their name because I don't really recommend them. And I don't think it's because they're a bad company. I think it probably is because I didn't do the best job of creating the files for them. But depending on who you're going with, the file formats and how you upload things is going to be different. So it's good to find a company you feel really confident with to start with so that you can make the files one time. It's also, there's companies like Fiverr.com or Upwork.com. Fiverr has 2 R's, where you can hire someone who is a digital graphic designer type person who can help you make the files, but still you're going to need to upload them. So you either need to scan real drawings in or just get them into a digital format. So I hired someone on Fiverr to just take those pieces of paper with 3 pictures on them and chop them down to individual images. And
Okay.
then I have a really good friend of mine who helps me out with graphic design stuff. And he helped me put the border on them and put the URL next to the picture so that
Gotcha.
everything was the right size for printing. Because when you send it to the printer, if your file is too big, it might cut off that border or it might cut off part of your image.
Right.
And I also was lucky to do the test print because I realized that the image on the back of the cards, you sort of lost the detail of the tree, which is my logo. You sort of showed
Uh-huh.
it on the front of the book.
Yeah.
That I then redid those images for the full printing so that it had a little white behind it. Yeah, so you could see the tree better. Um, So for me, I had a graphic designer. Basically, you need a file for the back of the cards, a file for each of the front of the cards. One of the companies I went through wanted all the fronts of the cards in one long PDF where each card was on the page, and they
Oh,
wanted the backs of the cards interspersed in that PDF. So it would be the front of one card, the back of one card, the front of one
oh,
card, the back of one card. And that is hard to make unless you have the fancy version of Adobe and you can make custom PDFs where you change out the pages and stuff. So I just got a free 1 month trial of Adobe to handle all of that, and then canceled my subscription because I don't really need Adobe for regular life.
right.
Um, but yeah, basically you want to find out who you're working with first. The company I ended up going with to print the cards is called WJ Playing Cards, and they're out of, I think, I'm going to butcher the name, but they're from China. I think, yeah, I don't even want to say what city in China because I'm sure I would say it wrong. I'm not even reading it. Um, and they were amazing. They were really helpful. They were really patient. I actually approached them when I was 3 months into the project, thinking I was going to finish it in 6 months. And they were like pretty responsive on email. After I couldn't receive emails from them anymore for whatever reason, my Gmail inbox wasn't responding with them. So I ended up just chatting with them on WhatsApp and doing all the invoicing and all the file prep and all the like frameworks. Once you know what you're making and you know what size you want it to be, they'll send you templates that a graphic designer can take those templates and make your files all the right shape and size. I don't know if you noticed, but when you open that box for the first time, the book is like very snugly placed inside the
Yes.
box. And as soon as you lift
Yes.
it out, the cards are held in this little tray that's inside the box. And all of that was from a template that I then made an image, gave it to my friend, and he sized it all right and chopped it up all right so that it was the right size for them to print that. Um, so yeah, it's technical, but if you have the templates from the printer of what you desire and they give you the size and shape of it, it's usually going to be in millimeters if you're working with China. And then you have a graphic designer who can mess with it in Photoshop and make things the right shape and size. It's not that hard. Definitely just having the files and keeping yourself organized is the challenge.
Okay, gotcha. And
Yeah.
are there did the China people, did they want PDF files too, or did they want something different?
I think I did send, yeah, in PDF file format, but for them, it was all the fronts of the cards in one and then just one PDF for the back of the card.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And yeah, they sent me a whole test print of like, look, we're printing this as a sheet. Do all of these pictures look right to you? And like, you can zoom it in and see everything looks right.
Okay. So if I understand you correctly, like you had a test print run in the United States just so you could like see it and feel it, but then you
Yeah.
went to China to get it printed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the test print just came wrong, and the communication with the company just didn't feel light. It felt heavy. And also that company for the same amount of decks wanted to charge me twice as much, and it
Right.
wouldn't have come with a box. So I went with the company in
Uh,
China that cost half as much and included that gorgeous box with it.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And it took a lot longer to arrive, obviously, because it had to come on some. I sent 3 boxes by air and 11 boxes by boat. So it took a lot
Uh,
longer to show up. And for me, that's a challenge because I travel full time. If you're watching this video and not just audio, I live in a van and I travel the country full time. So I was really lucky that I was going to be somewhere long enough to still arrive. I mean, to still
yeah.
receive them when they arrived.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. Wow. Wow.
it was a little
Okay.
stressful.
Yeah. So have you used the deck with like your clients or anything so
Yeah.
far?
Yeah,
Good.
so mostly I like to use it as sort of a way to get to know me. I did a lot of networking when the ducks first arrived when I was in Austin, Texas for a couple months this winter. And it's just a fun thing, a little juicy insight. I think the easiest way to play with it is just to pick a card and people get to read the little description about that card in the book. And even each suit has a shadow card because I think no deck would be complete without some of the shadow of life involved, but even the shadow cards are sort of an invitation and a contribution in some way. So yeah, it's just a fun way to interact with people. Like we could have a surface level conversation, or we could play with this deck and see like innately, naturally go a little bit deeper in our conversation than we normally would have. I've taken it to parties. My favorite band was playing in Austin for Halloween, and there was a house party with a bunch of my friends there after. I took it over there. Everybody was playing with it and loved it. And then I've shared it at Burning Man with all the people that I camp with and just interacting with people on a regular basis. And yeah, it's just a fun thing to bring out. I don't think it's it's not like handing someone a business card and saying, here, this is how to get to know me. It's a way of sort of opening a doorway to the more intimate connections that could exist. I think
Yeah,
it's more
that's
of
a
an
good point.
invitation.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is a good point.
And like, I didn't create it to be like a big money maker. Like, I don't see this as being, the reason that Oprah invites me onto her show. I mean, that would be awesome. Oprah, if you're watching, I'm available. Um, but I see it just as a way to contribute to the world and a different way of introducing myself when I meet people, sort of like the
Right.
calling card
Yeah.
design. Yeah.
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 So
And
what
I've
was the
loved the
most
response.
surprising thing that came out of this whole project?
You make something and it comes out of your silly little head, and then it actually was well received. Like, I wanted people to receive it. I wanted people to enjoy it. But the amount of people who have responded with, even just like people who are sort of muggles and pull a card, that it hits home. And people so frequently say things like, oh, I was just talking about that the other day, or this is exactly the lesson that I'm learning right now, or this is so relevant to my life. And that was the part that I couldn't see coming, that I didn't even really know to hope for. Like, that sounds like a great thing, but I wasn't even cognizant of that as a possibility. So to have that, the deck has its own magic, that people pull the card that they're magnetized and require or could get something out of right now, and that works, that the magic is there for something that I just made out of my own head, is
Yeah.
really special. And I didn't expect that to be such a beautiful addition to the project.
Yeah. Well, that's nice. That's
Yeah.
nice. Let me see what else do I have. I think that's really all the questions I had. I was just very curious about how you made it, why you made it, and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. What's been your experience of playing with it so far?
I haven't played with it too much, but I mean that I did do that first pull that I posted on Instagram, and it was the Fool and it was like another card. It was like something with a doorway.
The
Oh
Fool's
wait, I
Portal?
think it was this one. I think I just pulled it. It was this
Oh
one.
yeah, Imagination.
Yeah, yeah. So I haven't really had much of a chance to play around with it.
Would you pull a card for everyone right now who's
Yes.
listening?
Yep. Hang on. I'm shuffling. These are such high quality cards. I can't I can't say enough. Like I'm just because you hear people complain all the time about cards and they're flimsy. Like this is not, and they're not too slippery. I hate
Yeah,
it when they're slippery and they fly all over the place. These have a nice matte. They have a finish, but it's not slippery.
I love that. I didn't want too many fingerprints on them, so I thought matte finish would be a good
Yeah,
call.
the matte finish is great. Okay, here's the card. It is number 50. Watch your truth transform the paradigm.
The
Mm,
dominoes.
yeah,
Love it.
there it is.
Should we read that one to them? Here, I have a book with me. 50. Wow, I turned right to the page. It's a domino effect. No pressure. When you choose to ask for more, to create a reality beyond all that others believe is possible, with no apology to what that creation does to the perceived reality of those around you, you instigate a paradigm shift. What if we chose to live in states of ease, joy, and glory so far beyond those around us that they couldn't help but be pulled forward by the mere gravity of it? Would that be a contribution or what? Let go of the dock, keep sailing. Your willingness to choose more creates waves that others can ride into their own best life. Leadership is your willingness to go first.
Wow, I think that was kind of the story of you making the cards.
Yeah, it's kind of probably what people are listening about too, is, if we're willing to go and create something, if we're willing to follow that call, then it's innate. We're going to step into more leadership, and people are going to receive from that, whether by witnessing it or by actually interacting with it.
Nice.
It's
Nice.
awesome.
Good work. Good work.
Thank you.
Well, like I said, I don't have any other questions. I just wanted to chat with you a bit about it and just let people know that the cards are out there. And so they go to, what is it?
Yeah, my website is wildhearts with an S, riseup.com. And you can go there, or you can add /oracle, and that'll take you straight to the page where you can see the deck.
Okay.
And yeah, there's a video about it, and there's a bunch of pictures of it, and there's different ways you can buy in if you want to.
Great. Great. Well,
Awesome.
perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you everyone for watching and listening. Hopefully you get to check it out.
Okay.